Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and we have guests in our midst. This one is very important someone close to my heart. Yes, hubby is in the house. So let me these guys introduce themselves, starting with my one and only.
Hi, I am Moses Ilaguha, married to one and only Harriet Asimwe Ilaguha, and we are 3 years in marriage. Yes, 3 years in marriage, and we have one child, baby Gabriel.
Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Paul Namonyo. I've been married for the last 7 years in blissful marriage, and I'm looking forward to this engagement today.
Thank you, Paul. We are discussing the topic of how to keep the spark in marriage. First of all, what do you guys understand by a spark? What do we mean here when we say spark?
I believe it's that fire that ignites the married husband and wife, that intense feeling that makes marriage carry on and on and on. I think that's what I would think of a spark in marriage.
Keeping a spark in marriage, my understanding is keeping the love, keeping the intimacy, keeping the first love that brought you together. What made you attracted to this person? Keeping the love flowing.
Keeping the fire burning. Okay. So how do we keep this spark in our marriages? How do we keep that connection, that special feeling that we have for this husband or wife of ours? How do we do this?
Man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. But I would want to pick it on from the point of in marriages, okay? The current marriages. Do we have the spark? Is there that intense feeling down the road, or it ends up when you're walking up the aisle and then down the aisle and then celebrating, changing dresses and the dances? I would like to come from that point and share a bit of statistics. Currently, from URSB, we learned that 50% of the marriages that they register end up in divorce. And it kept me thinking, what is going wrong? What has happened? What happens to that, the fire, that ignition, that spark? When you're getting into marriage, you're looking towards something great. But down the road, you realize stuff does not go the way it goes. But back to your question, I would think I'll just probably say one, and then back to you, Harriet. I would think going back, what keeps the spark in marriage? First of all, I would think you need to understand the love language. And you can take it in different ways. But this is what I mean. One, if your spouse that you're dating to the point of marriage loved time out, like walking, taking long walks, I believe it can ignite certain sparks as you walk and talk. You realize you're building ignition, and before you end the day, there is fire burning. There is fire burning left and right. Harriet, please take over Moses. I feel like that is, for my starting point, understanding the whole love language, and my inclination is towards the walkway, the walking really. In other words, I would think quality time as one of them, into that whole idea of igniting the spark.
My understanding of keeping the spark, marriage brings two different people with different backgrounds. And to keep the spark burning, you have to learn the person you're with. I think that should happen in dating. You have to learn the person, you have to know more about the person you're with. And to keep the spark burning, one reason I would give is you should keeping dating, you know, when you're chasing and you want to to get this lady. You're bringing out all the moves. You're doing whatever it takes to win her heart. And I think to keep the spark burning, we have to keep that attitude that made us search for this person. Keep chasing, keep dating, and keep learning this person and trying to know more about the person. That's one reason I can give to keep the spark burning.
Let's just go back to facts. Is it really possible to keep the spark or have this intimate feeling or connection on a daily? Is it really possible to have it going on Monday to Friday, January to December? Let's go to the reality and then we can keep the discussion moving.
The question is a very philosophical question. Is it possible to keep that spark Monday to Sunday going? And the answer I would offer is a yes and a no. And this is what I mean. For yes, when you choose, it's actually choice. It's a choice. When you choose to like pursue the woman of the wife of your youth, I believe it's possible. The bit of no is when you choose to withdraw, when you've now discovered a couple of probably flaws or whatever, because marriage is real, then you will end up in the side of the no. But yes and a no, and it's a choice. It's a choice that you make to pursue. Bottom line, I would say, I sat under the guidance of some old fellas before we got married, and they encouraged me as a man to always keep pursuing my wife. If you do not pursue them, we all know what happened to Eve in the Garden of Eden. If you keep your eyes off them, they're going to end up somewhere, and before you realize, calamity will be on our portion. So pursue her, pursue her, pursue her to the very end.
Human behavior is not constant. You cannot expect a human being to behave in a constant way for the rest of their lives. So the answer is, it is possible, but it is hard work. You work on it. You cannot expect that the way you were feeling today is the same way you feel, because today you do something nice for your wife, or she does something nice for you, but the next day it's out of your mind. You have to find something new. So you need creativity. It's something that we have to work on for the rest of our lives, because it's till death do us part. So we work on it for the rest of our lives.
Like Moses has rightly said, it's work in progress, and we must also appreciate the fact that there are people that have been brought together through marriage. They have different walks of life as far as culture is concerned, as far as tradition and way of life, beliefs and stuff like that. And there are guys who have really stood out. I may quote an example. There is a gentleman who is really famous in Uganda. He's called, I think, Amos Wekesa. He's married to a lady, I think, from Britain or something like that. And when you look at that story is quite a unique story. Like, there is this African man, like, getting to understand how a British lady, needs to. It's work in progress, it's hard work. And like Moses said, it's work. It's really work. But regardless of work, he highlighted a challenge, not a challenge as such, but he talks into a bit of psychology. That we are human beings. One of the things that classifies us, or a trait that speaks into us, is we are not stagnant. We change, we change. And in change, for me, I would say, if you're the kind that has this kind of walk of life, and I'm from the other side, I would believe that you pay attention. It's two-way to tango. It takes two to tango, really. That dance, if you want to have the salsa, the tango dance, then you would have to work towards that end goal.
Let's say you're married and you have children. There's a difference between keeping the spark when it's just the two of you. And then there's something different if you have children around, you have one child and you're taking care of all those responsibilities. It changes. So you have to learn and find ways of keep learning on how to keep that spark burning, keep the love even in those different conditions. As like
Moses says it right. He's highlighted one of the things that can challenge the spark. And yes, before children come in, man, it's all lovey-dovey and stuff. Serena, you're going to like these nice places, really. Now, kids come in. There is the stress of poo. There is the stress of colic. The whole uncomfortable. The child comes in the middle of the bed to make you keep away, and before you realize, all attention is on the child. The wife that has been giving you this attention pushes all the attention to the child. Now, for a man, you may struggle with that. And just imagine somebody who has been struggling with probably 1, 2, 3 children. Will the spark be there? It's a question to think about. But yes, it's work in progress. And I just wanted to add to one of the limitations or the things that pull us away from these sparks. When illness comes in, when illness sets in, remembering the vows that till death do you part. In sickness, of course, there are people that have changed that marriage vow. They only speak into wealth and goodness and stuff like that. But the church I go to maintains that in sickness, in goodness, in poverty and stuff like that. So sickness comes in. What happens? You're hit with a stroke. You're hit with a chronic illness. And you cannot stand your ground and see the spark. If there is this corporate woman who is having a corporate job, it will take the grace of God for her to keep the spark. You're just in bed, laying there, motionless. And I'm just wondering, it's something to think about. Out there as you watch, I know that there are marrieds out there. It's something to think about. And as we think about it, of course, the only yardstick, personally, I believe, would be allowing Christ and the grace of God to reign over. Otherwise, if you just chose to run with the spark and stuff like that, you lose a point.
I must say this is really interesting. So now let's go practical. How are you guys doing it? Of course, my husband is present here, so if he says anything that is not true, I will come in to disagree. So how are we doing it? How are we intentional in keeping this spark? How are we intentional in keeping the connection? Making sure we are best friends with our spouses, keeping dating like Mr. Iragra has said. How are we doing this?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's working with her, but I feel I try to keep it and to keep the spark by I think one way is keeping dating, like having nice times together, having dates together, maybe the few moments that I get if we are together, having maybe lunch together. It's as simple as that. And thinking about each other, small calls during the day, and I check on her. I hope they work for her, but I think that's one way I'm doing it to keep the spark. Yeah.
Moses, the dating. I like your energy. Personally, there are many things that I have done. One, I gave up a particular job just to come and be with my wife. And in giving up, I think God honored my giving up and created another opportunity. And it for some, it would have to come to that. That's one. So when I gave up and pushed in my resignation, an opportunity opened up. And there was a glow on my wife that I'd never seen. At that time, we had 2 children. And she was so excited, like, man, let's come. Let's battle this thing together. And that's a real story. If you brought her here, she would actually tell you. The second thing, of course, I'm a person that believes in quality time. And for some reason, I have pushed it to my wife. Now, COVID experience, when we're locked down, man, we took walks. We took walks. And for me, in the walks, we were talking, we were cracking jokes, and I realized there was a bond that was being built over time. And the third thing I do is, of course, I take her out occasionally, and there are things I've done. I've actually had to run away from office to just come and have a date with her, which is something really risky at my workplace, but it's worth it. Oh yeah, and then the very last one, this one has been on. When I'm back from home, from work, and we've done devotion at night, the kids are off to bed, we just lock ourselves out in the sitting room, and you're talking about everything and nothing. We go to bed at midnight, sweet nothings, and you realize, man, you've blessed your wife, and it's such a sweet thing. And for me, it's what makes me enjoy marriage. It's a spark.
Paul mentioned about maybe something that is picked from the love languages, and I think my lovely wife loves acts of service, and I try my best to help her in the things that she's doing at home, and the work activities if she's involved in. I'll try my best not to allow her to overstretch if she's in utensils, if it's clothes. Those moments we can do it together. So I think maybe and such experiences create the time to talk together, time to be with each other and talk. And I don't stay with her most of the time because I work very far from her workplace. But the moments that we get to meet is I try my best to spend much time together. That's when we are together, we will not miss a meal together, and the spare time we will have it together. And I think it keeps the.
I just wanted, when Moses was talking about the quality time and stuff like that, I just remembered our first 2 years of marriage. Actually, in the first 3 years, we had 2 children. Please don't, just relax. That's us. So we didn't have a maid. We did not see the need to have a maid. I was working and my wife was at home. And so what happened was, in the acts of service, sometimes, by the way, the love language, it will change. Like Moses said, it's not constant, it changes. And so I realized, man, my wife, I was working, but yari nakawere, she couldn't wash and stuff like that. So there were bales of clothes that would wait for me on Friday. I would work Monday to Friday. And you can imagine the yellow pool with the little baby. And you're like, yeah, I washed and washed. I washed. You know that, what's it called? The liquid, there is a detergent, a particular detergent for baby clothes. Yeah, so soft. So at some point it would actually burn me. And I still have the marks for the washing of my hand. And whenever I would do that, 7 years down the road, my wife looks back and like, man, of course, in there is a word that she has used. She says, natombola. And to literally mean, I won. I found the right person. And so for me, we've been speaking about what keeps the spark. Is it possible to keep the spark from the time of I do to where you were? Yes, it is. It's a matter of choice. And for me, the whole bit of natombola, for me, it's an aha moment for her. And it probably points to the fact that the spark is there in my marriage. And it's possible when you choose to choose that path of pursuing a spark in that direction. Yeah.
No. My point of view is it has to be intentional for you to keep the spark, and it is very possible. So there are things that people ignore sometimes, like taking a shower together with your spouse. Personally, I think it can keep the spark there, you know. It's a time of bonding. Just like people believe that eating together, sharing meals, fellowship, bonds people. So I think even things like showering together, things like appreciating your spouse for sweet little nothings, just sending them a text message of you appreciate them, you are so glad, you are so lucky they are in your life. Sending them a text message of I love you can ignite the day and you know, bring in that spark that maybe might be lacking at one point, right? Yeah.
But Harriet, I'm just wondering, and some of them extreme, like, I'm just imagining this whole thing of showering together. Of course, when you're growing up, I saw my parents occasionally, whenever we're in sleep, I think they would take showers together. But in this modern era, that would, well, it takes the two of you on intentionality. And yeah, it may work for some, it may not work for some. But yeah. So just a moment. So Harriet, are you trying to say that you shower?
Yeah, we do it often. I actually term it naked and unashamed. We have a license. We do it. We shower together. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that. Yeah, it works for us.
Yeah, I think, it's something that I say we work on. I think maybe I'll have another point of trying to learn your spouse. I thought maybe when we were getting married, there are many things that I got to learn more when I got married, and I dedicated myself to try and learn my wife more and try to know, because every time as time moves on, you get to learn this person. Like I said earlier, humans are not constant. You try to work on many different things. You try something, maybe there are many things you would try. You talked about maybe spending time together, but there are other people who love gifts. Try to give a gift. If it works, for some people it might not work because it's different for different people, but you try many different things. As life moves on, you get to pick what works for the person you're with. But part of the spending time together is something I believe creates the bond. She talked about showering together. She talks about doing chores together, and maybe keeping an open communication. One thing that as a man that I've been learning is trying to know that women are emotional. Their emotions are different from us. So trying to learn the best way I can communicate with her. There could be some moments that I said something in the past, and I felt, if I said something like this, it's going to hurt her. So by trying to learn her, I will know if I say things like this, they will hurt her. I'll try to learn to change and learn how to best communicate, like the best communication strategy. Because most people in relationships will tell the person, I love you, but there's I love you. Yeah, the actions say something different. You might say, I love you, but the way you say it also matters. It's not just the simple word. The action, the tone, the situation also matters. So we learn those little things really would keep the spark. So my main point is maybe the way you communicate with your spouse would also keep the spark burning.
Having the attitude like we shared earlier, having that whole energy of pursuing her to the end, like going to the last line for her, defending her actually before your parents, before the parents that gave birth to me. I'm supposed to protect and defend her. I should not allow them to like ridicule her, put her down and stuff like that. I'm supposed to carry her baggage. Whether it's burning, it's so heavy for me, I'm supposed to defend her. I'm supposed to be her ambassador, an ambassador of goodwill. And it's supposed to be the same. And once my wife realizes that I defend her, actually the spark comes natural.
In public and in private.
Yeah, public and in private, the spark will come natural.
How about finding common hobbies? if probably you both enjoy taking walks, if both of you enjoy road trips, vacations, if you enjoy watching a movie, finding common hobbies that you spend time doing together. If he likes watching football, I can be intentional in watching football with you. So does that also count as keeping the spark? What do you say?
Be, one thing that I think that brought us together as a couple was the hobbies we shared. One of the things like we enjoyed hiking together, taking walks together, and those are some of the things we do together that bring and keep the friendship there, because we keep growing as friends. COVID hit and maybe we've not had times to travel together, but it's something we always talk about and have plans to do. But to someone out there, it's something I would suggest. Traveling together as a couple, as a family, if you have children, traveling with them and go in a different environment. Don't just be confined in your home. Do the normal routine or the usual things are boring. So you have to come up with something that is new, that will really work on your psychology. It even helps you to really refocus and rethink. Yeah.
I also think you said hobbies, Harriet. You said hobbies, yeah. But I would be careful on some hobbies, because for me, I'm a sporty guy. I love sports. I used to play basketball. I played badminton for my university, and when I take that angle of the sports, I think I would be ground zero. But yet, on an affirmative side, I would think yes, you can interest them. And if your wife, for instance, if my wife was my biggest cheerleader, I wouldn't care who else screams their hearts out. If she was the one cheering me and I'm doing the spikes and stuff like that, doing the 3-pointers when I'm playing basketball, I think for me that would give me the spark and give me the affirmation that I'm with the right person. And if I'm just playing the basketball, the badminton, and for a moment I look at the pavilion and she's all up, I'm like, yeah, go honey. I'll be like, yeah, I'll do this for you. I just remembered one more, and I don't think it should pass. I don't know whether it's I think it cuts across the gender called females or women. Yeah, that other gender. I come in peace. They love the money from a man.
Yes.
Even if it's 5K.
Yes.
Even if it's 2K. Once it's off, this gender, I just don't know what it does to them. 5K, 10K, whatever amount. But for as long as it's coming from this species, this man, who is your husband, man, it's going to just make the woman glow. She'll be excited. And for men out there, I would encourage you, if you're having trouble and stuff like that, please try that magic. 10K, 20K, small as it may be, you're going to arise a spark. And before you realize, you'll be somewhere.
Actually, what works for us as well is money for hair. Give me money for hair. I'll go to salon very happy. I'll come out, even if the hairstyle is funny or it hasn't come out as I expected, I'll still look beautiful. I'll still feel good. Money for hair also works magic.
That has been noted. I think the other thing that I had in mind is maybe we all love gifts. We all love to be appreciated and given gifts. We love to be given something. It could be something small. It would be, like I said, you have to learn. You have to learn this person and things to do with maybe the kind of clothes they put on. If it means consulting people, and do it. If it needs consulting someone about a dress that can fit her, a shoe that can fit her, and you buy it, I think it's something that would be nice to do. And I think any lady would love to have something like that. Yeah. I'm working on it, but it's something I know is very good.
You've made a promise, I'll be reminding you.
One thing that we had probably forgotten was this whole thing of body touch and the whole aspect of intimacy. And I'm looking in the camera and I'm just wondering, when did you last give your wife a hug? When did you, 5-minute hug, 10-minute hug? World Guinness, the World Guinness Book of Records has it that there is, I think, a couple that hugged for more than 24 hours.
Oh.
Yes. And I'm just wondering how they did it. Did they stand? Did they roll and stuff like that? But you need, yeah, did they have lunch? Did they, Yeah, but it's important that as we think of igniting the spark, the touch of the woman, either way, one of you can respond to the touch. So if it's not there, you may be there with somebody very cold and stuff like that. Of course, when I talk about the touch, the cuddle, the hug, the holding of hands, it speaks volumes in the process of the mind. Either way,
Yes.
before you realize, you're going to end up somewhere, and there will be a bit of stuff that is going to, for the sake of public stuff, I'll just speak in parables. But the beauty is, you've understood what I'm talking about, where that intimacy gets, the body touch, the intimacy and stuff like that ends up somewhere that glorifies the Lord, that blesses either party. So think about it. The intimacy is important in marriage as a spark to keep you going.
I wanted to say you don't need to create a timetable for it or something. It has to come natural. It has to be spontaneous, actually. Like, do it unexpectedly when she's in maybe the kitchen. Hug, surprise hugs. Hold her hand when she least expects it. Don't wait for her to tell you, oh, hold my hand or something. If you're walking, you could hold her hand. Or if she's coming from work, when she least expects it, or you can give someone a hug. It communicates a lot. Yeah.
Moses, you just opened my mind to something. I'm a very, very stubborn person. Okay, not stubborn in a bad way. Playful, I could use the word playful. I love playing with my wife. And like even the intimacy thing and the games sometimes can be extreme, and you could be rubbing your partner the wrong way. So one time, because I love watching her, I love looking at her cooking and stuff like that, we let the kids stay in the sitting room, and I look for her in the kitchen, and I'm busy on her back and stuff like that. And I realized that when she was cooking, I was disturbing her peace. And so she gave me this look of, man, do you know what I am doing? Can you excuse me for a moment? So I just wanted to share that tip, that if it's being dragged beyond a certain limit, be wise enough to pull back and wait for the appropriate time. And before you realize, you end somewhere.
The other thing that I needed to say was being positive, focusing on the positives in your spouse. There is no human who is 100%. We all have our weaknesses, and like I said earlier, marriage brings two different people, and all of us have different expectations, but you have to focus on the good things that are in your spouse. It could be your spouse is fun, or your spouse is good at preparing meals. Those are things that you should focus on, and even actually tell the person about them. There is something good about telling this person about how you feel about the good things they do. If they are good at taking care of the house, pick out those positives. there are people who really look at the negative part of everything. They'll say, my spouse doesn't do this, she doesn't do this. And throughout your relationship, you look at those bad things. But we are there in relationships to build each other, and we should focus on the positives, encourage each other to work on the negatives. There are things that a person can improve, because as a couple, you're supposed to build each other. So it's something we have to talk about as a couple.
I would also think making them feel needed is very key. And this is what I mean. You know, you do not want to have a relationship that is just one-sided, that it's just one person that is investing. When you make it feel like somebody's needed, you need them more than probably any other person. I think it will activate a certain spark, because we are limiting ourselves to spark within that person, and before you realize, the responses that are going to be coming through will be leading into a marriage that is firm, into a marriage that is glorious, a marriage that is blissful. And of course, not forgetting, I talked about intimacy. I didn't highlight sex. Sex is important. You need to have it more oftentimes, because you were given the key on that day you made the vows. Okay, it's important. Have it as often as you can. In I don't know what would limit you from having it, but also have it when be unpredictable. Don't make it feel like don't be predictable. Be unpredictable even in intimacy, especially in the whole aspect of sex. Yeah. So yeah, back to you.
Would flirting with your spouse count as keeping the spark in marriage? What do you think?
I think yes. I know that many times, of course, when you marry a wife, you realize there is a curve. There is a curve of a woman. There is a time when she's up, and I think that is when you are busy pursuing her, when she's glowing. When children come in, that glow comes down with the wear and tear, breastfeeding, bathing, and stuff like that. So you may not be having that woman that you had when she was up there on the curve. And so temptation may come in to see those girls or women that are up on the curve. And you may be tempted to flirt with them and stuff like that, leaving out your wife. I'll tell you, when you flirt with your wife on phone, on call, and stuff like that, it's going to make them glow in a certain way. They may not be at the curve of these other ladies that have not bathed, young and stuff like that. But flirting on my end can help them detoxify, take out certain toxins, and make them blossom, make them lively, make them alive. There will be a spark on their face. There will be this gleam on their face. And at the end of the day, you will be dealing with the wife of your youth. She will never grow old to you. Never. Keep flirting with her, not the others. Yeah, flirt with your wife. I would encourage.
Okay, I think we are going to wrap this up. I think it has been a really interesting discussion, knowing how to keep the spark in marriage. So kindly click that notification bell so that when a new video is uploaded, you don't miss it. New videos are uploaded every Tuesday. Yes, please be alert. Share these videos with married people, with your friends, with your loved ones, with your family. We have a lot of interesting topics in store. We are going to be discussing various number of topics in relationship, in line with relationships and marriage.